When you think of Saudi Arabia today, you probably think of a global powerhouse, right? But what's incredible is its story. This epic, centuries-long struggle to unite a vast desert full of rival tribes. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how that kingdom was forged.
So let's start with this central question, the one that hangs over this entire story. How do you actually do it? How do you take a land that's defined by its harsh environment and its fiercely independent people and turn it into a unified nation? This single challenge is what shaped the entire history of the Arabian Peninsula.
You know, to really get the present, we've got to go way, way back, long before Islam. And centuries before anyone had even heard of oil, Arabia's first source of global power, well, it wasn't what you might think. It was all about its unique position as a crossroads for ancient civilizations.
See, this wasn't some empty land just waiting to be discovered. Oh no. For thousands of years, really sophisticated civilizations rose and fell here. You had the Dilmun trading empire, which even gets a mention in ancient Mesopotamian texts. And then there are the Tamud people, who left behind those absolutely incredible rock-cut tombs at Madain Saleh. This peninsula has a deep, rich history.
So, what was the source of all this ancient power? It was the incense trade route. Now, frankincense and myrrh were hugely valuable commodities back then. I mean, they were used for everything from religious rituals to medicine. Controlling these routes, it was literally like controlling the world's oil supply today.
And this trade generated just immense wealth. Take the Nabateans. They were masters of these desert routes, and they used their profits to build the breathtaking city of Petra. It's just incredible proof that ancient Arabia wasn't some forgotten corner of the world. It was a major center of economic power that helped shape empires.
But after centuries of trade and all this tribal life, a truly revolutionary new idea would emerge from Arabia. And this idea would unite its people in a way that, well, nothing ever had before.
This whole process happened in these really clear, distinct steps. It all began with the revelations to the Prophet Muhammad in Mecca. Now, facing persecution, the community migrated to Medina, that's the Hijra, and this gave them a crucial safe haven. And it's there that the Constitution of Medina was established. This was a remarkable document that created a single community, the Ummah, out of all these different tribes and faiths. And that became the foundation for the very first unified state on the peninsula.
But here's the twist. As the Islamic Empire expanded with just incredible speed, its center of gravity shifted. The capital moved from Medina in Arabia, first to Damascus, and then later to Baghdad. And suddenly, Arabia, which was once the heart of this whole movement, became a respected but politically kind of peripheral province of a huge global empire.
So this shift away from Arabia led to a really long period of fragmentation. With the focus of power now somewhere else entirely, those old patterns of tribal division, they slowly started to re-emerge across the peninsula.
For hundreds of years, Arabia was basically a patchwork of local sheikdoms. You had these distant empires, like the Ottomans, controlling the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, sure, but the vast interior, that was largely left to its own tribal dynamics. That old problem of unity, it was back, and it remained unsolved.
And this is where a new force for unification emerges, right from the heart of Arabia itself, the Al Saud family. They would make two major attempts to build a kingdom, and they learned some crucial, painful lessons from each failure.
The foundation of their whole effort was this one crucial alliance. In 1744, a pact was forged between a political leader, Muhammad ibn Saud, and a religious reformer, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. Now, why was this so powerful? Well, it gave political conquest a higher purpose. Suddenly, Ibn Saud's military might was fused with this really compelling religious call for purity and unity, an idea that could actually transcend those old tribal loyalties. It was a formula for state building that would prove to be incredibly resilient.
And their first attempt was remarkably successful. The first Saudi state actually managed to unify much of the peninsula and even captured the holy cities. But that success, that was its undoing. The Ottoman Empire saw them as a threat and sent a powerful army that completely crushed the state in 1818. So lesson number one, a powerful external enemy could totally overwhelm them.
So they regrouped and they tried again. The second Saudi state reestablished control over the central heartland, with its capital in Riyadh. But this time, the fatal blow came from within. Bitter internal family disputes weakened them, and that allowed a rival local dynasty to come in and defeat them. The lesson this time, unity at home is just as important as strength against outsiders.
Which brings us to the final and successful chapter. After the collapse of that second state, it really seemed like the Saudi dream of unification was over for good. But one young leader, who had learned from the past, was about to change absolutely everything.
His name was Abdulaziz ibn Saud. He was forced into exile in Kuwait, and he spent his youth basically just looking out over the desert, planning what seemed like a completely impossible comeback. He was determined to learn from the past and succeed where his ancestors had failed. And what a comeback it was. It began in 1902 with this legendary, daring raid to recapture his family's capital, Riyadh, with just a handful of followers. From there, over the next 30 years, he methodically conquered the remaining regions, he secured the coast, and then finally took the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. In 1932, he declared the unified kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That puzzle of unification, it was finally solved.
The political unity was achieved through decades of struggle, but just 6 years later, a discovery would provide the economic glue to hold it all together forever.
Oil. The discovery of oil in 1938 was a complete game-changer. It provided the immense wealth needed to bind the new kingdom together with roads and schools and all kinds of infrastructure, transforming it from a collection of tribes into a modern nation-state. It secured the unity that Abdulaziz had fought so hard for.
And yet, for its founder, the foundation was always more than just politics or wealth. This quote from Abdulaziz himself really reveals the core of his project, a state built on the twin pillars of a religious mission and national unity. That's the very same formula first established all the way back in 1744.
So, from a mosaic of tribes to a unified kingdom, and from a wealth based on incense to one based on oil, the Arabian Peninsula has undergone these immense transformations. And it leaves us with the question, after forging this kingdom against all odds, what will be the next chapter in its epic story?